Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, we're talking about one of the most crucial skills in elk hunting, knowing when to turn up the volume and when to shut your mouth. Every elk hunter dreams of ripping a bugle and having a bull scream back, charging in like a freight train. And sometimes that's exactly what happens. But more often, timing is what makes or breaks the setup. Call too aggressively when a bull isn't ready and you blow him out. Sit silent when he's fired up and challenging and you miss your opportunity. The difference between filling your tag and walking out empty-handed comes down to reading the moment and choosing whether to be bold or patient. In this episode, we're going to break down the nuts and bolts of call timing. You'll learn when to be aggressive with bugles, chuckles, and excited cow talk, and when to hold back and let silence build tension. We'll cover how herd dynamics dictate your calling pace, how timing changes from early September through the peak rut, and what to do in pressured units where elk have heard every call on the market. By the end, you'll have a tactical playbook that helps you decide in real time whether to hammer the tube or keep it quiet. And that choice will put more bulls in bow range. When most hunters think about elk calling, they focus on sound. They worry about pitch, volume, or whether their bugle tube sounds like the pros on a stage. But the truth is, timing matters more than tone. Elk don't score you on how pretty your bugle sounds. They react based on when you make it and what's happening around them. Elk are social animals. Their calls aren't random noises. They're signs delivered at specific times to mean specific things. A cow's soft mew can mean stay close. A high-pitched buzz from a satellite bull can mean I'm fired up. A herd bull's lip ball isn't just a sound, it's a time-stamped message that says, these cows are mine right now. When you understand that calls are tied to timing and context, you stop calling for yourself and start calling on their terms. Here's the key. Aggressive calling works when it matches the energy of the elk. If a bull is hot, bugling repeatedly and clearly looking for a fight, hammering him back with strong bugles in the right distance range is often the right move. But if he's half-hearted, answering every few minutes, blasting him with challenge bugles can shut him down. In that moment, patience and soft calling or even silence gets you further. Think of timing like a dance. You don't always lead, you respond. If cows are chirping calmly, you blend in. If a bull cranks up, you mirror his energy and build intensity with him. The wrong timing is like stepping on your partner's toes. It breaks rhythm and kills the connection. The right timing keeps you in sync, moving closer to a shot opportunity. Here's a scenario. You slip into a basin at daylight and hear a bull bugle once, faint and lazy. If you hammer him with an aggressive challenge, chances are he grabs his cows and moves. Instead, you wait. 10 minutes later, you give a soft mew. He responds with another lazy bugle. You stay patient, keeping your calls light. By mid-morning, as his cows drift to bed, his energy ramps up. Now you step on the gas. Hit him with a full bugle and cut him off when he answers. Because you matched his timing instead of forcing it, he finally commits. The role of timing is simple but powerful. Don't just call in rhythm with the elk. Your job isn't to show off your best notes. Your job is to enter their conversation at the right moment with the right energy so your sound makes sense. That's when calling stops being noise and starts being deadly. There's a time to let it rip. Elk are emotional animals, and when the rut is hot, their instincts can override caution. Aggressive calling is about matching that emotion and pouring gas on the fire. Done at the right time, it can pull a bull into bow range on a string. Done at the wrong time, it can blow him out of the drainage just as fast. The difference is knowing when to lean in. If a bull is bugling consistently, cutting you off, or challenging nearby bulls, that's your green light. He's already advertising and defending his herd. By hammering him back with strong bugles, lip balls, and chuckles, you step into his world as a rival. This forces a choice. Either he runs or he fights. During peak rut, that fight instinct often wins. If the herd is noisy, cows chirping, mewing, and whines mixing in with bull bugles, aggressive calling blends in. In that chaos, your own excited cow calls and assembly mews can pull animals out of the herd. Bulls in these scenarios often key in on competition. Your job is to sound like an opportunity they can't ignore. Aggressive calling also shines when you're already in tight. If you've shadowed a herd into less than 150 yards, especially if you get inside the 120-yard zone, the bull is fired up, it's time for you to turn up the volume. Cut him off mid-bugle, chuckle hard, and throw in aggressive cow calls. That overlap feels like a direct challenge inside his comfort zone. Many bulls won't tolerate it. They'll storm in to deal with the intruder. Let's talk about an example scenario here. It's September 18th. At dawn, you glass a herd across a timbered slope. The bull bugles about every 30 seconds and cows mew constantly. You slide in with the wind right, closing to 120 yards. As he bugles, you cut him off with a lip ball and chuckle, adding 2 excited cow calls. He answers instantly, more aggressive than before. Seconds later, you hear him raking a tree. You hammer back with another bugle. His frustration boils over. He rakes again, then charges down the slope. Because you read the moment and matched his intensity, you created a confrontation that brought him in. Only go hard when the elk already are. Aggressive calling should amplify the energy they're showing, not try to create it from scratch. If you push hard at the wrong time, you risk sounding unnatural or desperate. But when the timing is right, aggressive calling taps directly into a bull's instincts. It makes him forget caution and commit. One of the hardest lessons for elk hunters to learn is that sometimes the best call is no call at all. Patience in calling doesn't mean doing nothing. It means letting curiosity, timing, and herd behavior work in your favor without forcing the issue. Elk are social, but they're also cautious. Overcalling, especially when the energy level is low, can raise red flags instead of drawing them in. If a bull bugles only once every 10 minutes, it's not a green light for aggression. He's showing interest, but not commitment. In this scenario, dropping a couple soft mews or cow chirps, then sitting silent is more effective. The quiet space forces him to wonder where you went. Silence creates tension, and elk often break it by coming closer to investigate. Sometimes the herd is edgy. Cows are quiet, moving fast, or keeping tight together. If you flood the air with calls, you only add to their tension. Patient calling in this case means matching the calm or even sitting completely silent and focusing on ambush. Elk trust what they hear when it fits the moment. Anything extra can feel off. Elk are naturally curious. A single cow note or a short sequence of light mews followed by several minutes of silence can pull a bull in. He can't stand not knowing. By resisting the urge to answer every bugle or fill every gap with sound, you let the bull's imagination do the work. Here's another scenario. You set up at the edge of a bench at mid-morning. A bull bugles once, faint and half-hearted. Instead of ripping back with a full challenge, you give a single soft mew, then go dead quiet. 10 minutes passes. He bugles again, a little closer. You wait. Another 10 minutes. He bugles again, closer still. Finally unable to resist, he slips along the timbered edge, looking for the cow that never called again. That restraint bought you an opportunity. Patient calling doesn't mean you never make a sound. It means you call sparingly, in rhythm with the herd, and let time work for you. Aggressive hunters often give themselves away by filling the woods with noise. Patient hunters kill elk by letting silence pull bulls across the last 100 yards. Calling isn't about you. It's about them. The most effective elk callers aren't the ones who can hit the loudest bugle or the sweetest cow chirp. They're the ones who can read the herd and adjust their timing on the fly. Bulls and cows give you clues with every sound, movement, and reaction. If you learn to pick up on those signals, you'll know exactly when to get aggressive and when to hold back. Pay attention to the tone and frequency of a bull's bugle. A deep, raspy lip ball delivered fast and often means he's fired up and ready for confrontation. Your cue to push hard. A high-pitched, wandering bugle spaced far apart is often more about location than aggression. That's your signal to stay patient and let him come to you. Body language adds another layer. If you can see him raking trees, pacing, or cutting off other bugles, he's asking for a fight. If he bugles while moving away, he's posturing and not yet ready for a clash. Cows are the herd's steering wheel. If they're mewing softly and moving slowly, the herd is relaxed. You can blend in with subtle calling or even silence. But if cows get loud, chirping or barking, they're alert or agitated. In those moments, aggressive bull calling may spook them. Match their energy. Excited cow talk if they're vocal, restraint if they're edgy. A herd bull takes his cues from cows, so if they're calm, he's likely to tolerate your presence longer. Every call you make gets a reaction, even if it's silence. If a bull answers instantly, you're in rhythm. If his bugles slow down or he goes quiet after your call, you probably overstepped. The discipline here is to recognize feedback and adjust, not double down with more noise. If he bugles after you stay silent, you've confirmed he's curious. If he rakes harder after your aggressive call, press him more. Timing is about listening as much as calling. Here's another scenario. You slip into 200 yards of a herd at mid-morning. The bull bugles weakly while pushing cows toward timber. If you challenge hard now, he'll likely round them up and leave. Instead, you give 2 soft cow mews and go silent. 10 minutes later, he bugles again, this time closer. You wait, letting curiosity pull him in. As cows settle and begin to feed, his bugle sharpened because he feels more confident that they're staying put. Now he rakes a tree. That's your green light. You hammer him with a lip ball and chuckle. He screams back and comes storming in. You didn't force him. You let the scenario build and his behavior tell you when to turn it up. The bottom line here is that calling is a conversation, not a performance. Bulls and cows will show you their mood, energy, and comfort level. Your job is to listen, interpret, and respond with timing that fits the moment. When you master that, your calling becomes less about making noise and more about speaking their language. Elk behavior isn't the same on September 3rd as it is on September 23rd. The entire month is one long transition, and the way you time your calling has to shift with it. What works during the first week can spook bulls at the end of the month, and vice versa. At the start of the season, bulls are often still bachelored up or just beginning to shadow cows. Bugles are fewer and softer, more like location calls than challenges. In this window, aggressive calling usually backfires. A bull that bugles once every 15 minutes is not ready to fight. The better play is patient calling, single cow mews, calf chirps, and long stretches of silence. Curiosity is your weapon. If you keep the rhythm slow and soft, you can pull in bulls that are testing the waters without putting them on edge. Mid-September is the sweet spot. Cows are cycling, herd bulls are defending, and the satellites are prowling. Bugles echo across drainages, and the energy is high. This is when aggressive calling shines. Challenge bugles, lip balls, chuckles, raking. These are your tools to cut off bulls and provoke them into charging in. But even here, timing matters. Don't unload your entire playbook at once. Let the bull's intensity build, then match it. If he cuts you off, hammer him harder. If he bugles but doesn't close, escalate with cow calls layered into your sequence. This is the time to feed off their energy and press your advantage. As the rut winds down, bulls are worn out. They've burned fat reserves, fought, and bred. Bugles taper off, and many bulls focus on conserving energy. They still guard cows, but they aren't as quick to charge in. Here, patient calling becomes more effective again. Light cow sequences, the occasional lost cow call, or even total silence while you shadow the herd can be deadly. Bulls are less aggressive, but they're still tuned into cows. Your timing needs to reflect the shift, calmer, slower, and less forceful. Here's another scenario. It's September 6th. You hear a faint bugle across the drainage. One note, then silence. If you hammer him with a challenge, you risk running him off. Instead, you give a calf chirp and sit silent. 20 minutes later, you hear brush pop as he sneaks closer, curious. Now fast forward to September 17th. A bull is bugling nonstop, pacing and raking. This is your green light. You rip a lip ball, cut him off, and chuckle hard. He screams back and closes fast. Finally, on September 28th, you shadow a herd with a bull that bugles only once every half hour. Aggressive calling here would push him out. Instead, you stay patient, slip into position, and let the cows feed your way. The lesson here is that timing isn't just about the moment, it's about the calendar. Each stage of September demands a different tempo. If you adapt to the rut phase, you'll always be speaking the right language for the right time. Public land elk in September hear a lot of hunters. In popular units, bulls may listen to dozens of bugles and cow calls in the first week alone. By mid-season, they've learned to filter out what doesn't sound or feel natural. If you walk into that environment blasting aggressive bugles, you're often just confirming what they already suspect: another hunter in the drainage. This is where adapting your call timing becomes critical. In pressured country, bulls often go quiet. They'll still rut, but they move cows without bugling, relying on body language and subtle cow talk. Hunters who rely on aggressive sequences get frustrated, thinking elk have moved out. In reality, the elk are adapting. Your adjustment is to match their silence. Instead of broadcasting your shadow, you move with wind and terrain in mind, staying close to fresh sign. When you do call, you keep it light. A cow mew here or there, a soft contact note, or even just the sound of raking brush. A call-shy bull isn't broken, he's cautious. Maybe he's been burned before, coming into an aggressive bugle only to find a hunter. With these bulls, timing means restraint. If he bugles once and you hammer him, he leaves. If you stay quiet, shadow him, and let his cows settle, he may let curiosity take over. In these setups, patience is everything. Sometimes the best move is to not call until you're inside 100 yards, and then only with the faintest cow notes. Silence itself can also be a tactic. I've made a lot of videos on this. When bulls expect endless calling from hunters, not calling often makes you stand out. You become the elk they can't quite place. A single sound, hoof taps in the brush, a stick crack, or a light mew after long silence can carry more weight than an entire bugle sequence. Elk know what natural rhythms sound like. Long, quiet stretches broken by a subtle sound feel authentic. Here's another scenario for you. You're in a heavily pressured over-the-counter unit, and by mid-September, bulls aren't answering bugles anymore. Instead of quitting, you shadow a herd into a shaded bench. Fresh rubs and tracks confirm they're there. You sit silent for 30 minutes, again, give a couple soft cow calls. Nothing answers. 20 more minutes, you hear hoof taps and catch movement. A satellite bull slipping in. He was curious. You never bugled, you never overplayed your hand. Silence worked because it was different than what every other hunter had done. The rule here is simple. In pressured units, timing leans towards patience. Silence, subtlety, and restraint often beat aggression here. Elk that have heard it all respond best to hunters who break the pattern and play the quiet, softer game. Sometimes the best way to understand call timing is through real-world examples. Let's look at a few more generalized scenarios that show how aggression or patience plays out on the mountain. Scenario 1. You got a fired up herd bull at daybreak. You hike into a drainage at first light and hear a bull bugling every 20 to 30 seconds. He's cutting off satellites, he's raking trees. This is an aggressive situation. You don't sit back. You hammer him, rip a full bugle, cut him off mid-note with a challenge, add chuckles if you want. If he answers instantly, keep pressing. The timing here demands aggression because his energy is already high. He's already in the mood to fight, and he's primed for confrontation. Scenario 2, you've got a single lazy bugle in early September. It's September 5th. A bull bugles once across the canyon, then goes silent. If you blow the canyon up with a challenge, he'll likely round up his cows and leave. Instead, wait. After a few minutes, you give a calf chirp. Then nothing. 15 minutes later, he bugles again. He's a little closer. Your patience might be working. Timing in this scenario leans toward restraint, letting curiosity bring him in rather than trying to force a fight. Scenario 3, in a pressured unit mid-month, you're hunting an over-the-counter area that's been pounded since opener. You locate a bull with a faint bugle, but notice lots of boot tracks in the area on your way in. Aggression here is a mistake. He's heard a lot of that already. Instead, you slip in quiet with the wind right, settle within at least 150 yards, and make some soft cow mews, then silence. After half an hour, you hear stick pops, the bull drifts in, checking for the cow that called once and didn't push him out with more calling. Patience beats pressure. In scenario 4, we've got a midday bed with vocal cows. It's 11 a.m. or so, and you've shadowed a herd to their bedding area. Cows are chirping as they settle, and the bull bugles occasionally just to keep them tight and let everybody know he's there. If you stay quiet, nothing changes. This is your time to mimic the herd. Layer in excited cow calls, add an assembly mew, and cut the bull off when he bugles. You're creating tension inside his safe zone. Aggression works here because you're close and the herd is already vocal. In scenario 5, end of September, post-rut bulls. You find a lone bull on September 27th, shadowing a couple cows. He bugles once an hour. Aggressive calling here would run him off. Instead, you shadow quietly, using wind and cover. Every so often, you slip in a couple of soft mews. He doesn't charge, but he doesn't leave. Late in the evening, as cows drift to feed, he finally circles to check on that other cow that he heard. Restraint carried the day. These scenarios prove one thing. There's no single right way to call elk. Timing is everything. Sometimes you pour gas on the fire, sometimes you starve it off with oxygen and let curiosity burn. The skill is knowing which moment you're in. Calling elk is less about the perfect note and more about the rhythm you create. Elk are conversational animals. They don't just scream nonstop or chirp in mechanical patterns. Their communication rises, falls, and pauses with purpose. If you can build rhythm into your calling using sequences, natural pauses, and well-timed patience, you'll sound more real and draw in more elk. Single bugles or lone cow calls can work, but elk rarely make just one sound and vanish. They often string a series of calls together, especially when interacting with the herd. For example, a cow might give 3 or 4 soft mews spaced irregularly. A bull may bugle, then follow with chuckles or raking. Building short, varied sequences into your calling makes you sound alive instead of robotic. What you don't say is as important as what you do. Long pauses mimic natural elk behavior. A cow may mew a few times, then feed quietly for a long time before calling again. Bulls can bugle in bursts, then go silent while tending to cows or getting distracted with satellites. If you call too often, especially in pressured units, elk start to sense something isn't right. Well-placed pauses create curiosity and give bulls space to make the next move. Rhythm also comes from stacking sounds together. A bugle followed immediately by chuckles says something completely different than a bugle by itself. Adding raking into a sequence can elevate intensity without more vocalization. Light cow talk paired with hoof noises or breaking sticks mimics a small group feeding. Each layer adds realism and keeps the rhythm dynamic. Another scenario for you. You've shadowed a herd bull into thick timber. The bull bugles once, then goes quiet. Instead of hammering back, you build a rhythm. 2 soft mews, a pause, 1 light whiny mew. Then silence. After several minutes, you scrape a branch against a tree. The sequence feels natural, like a small group of elk nearby. The bull responds, not instantly, but by circling downwind 15 minutes later. He believed the rhythm because it felt real. Good calling isn't just hitting notes, it's delivering them in the right cadence. Sequences show life, pauses create tension, and layering builds emotion. When your rhythm matches how elk really sound on the mountain, bulls trust it, and trust is what gets them killed. The hardest part of calling elk isn't making the sounds, it's controlling yourself. Hunters get excited, hear a bugle, and dump their whole toolbox into the drainage. That lack of discipline kills more opportunities than bad calling ever will. Mental discipline means resisting the urge to overcall, staying patient when silence feels unbearable, and trusting your setup instead of chasing noise. When you've got a bull answering, your instincts scream at you to keep pouring it on, but often the smartest move is to shut up. Let him stew. Let him wonder. Every call you make is a piece of information you give away. Discipline is knowing when enough is enough. Many hunters blow their chance by moving too soon. They call, don't hear a response, and assume it didn't work and get up and leave. In reality, elk often circle silently, coming in from downwind. If you abandon your setup too quickly, you'll bust them without ever knowing they responded. Discipline means committing to the sit 20, 30, 40 minutes before making a move. Excitement is natural, but it has to be controlled. A shaky bugle, rushed movement, or impatient sequence can unravel your hunt. Stay calm, breathe, make your decisions based on the elk's behavior, not your adrenaline. Discipline is being able to hold back even when your heart's pounding. To wrap it all up, calling elk is never just about noise. It's about timing, rhythm, and discipline. Knowing when to be aggressive and when to be patient is what separates a hunter who gets a show from a hunter who gets a shot. Match your energy to the elk. Let their behavior guide your timing. Adjust with the rut phase, and remember that sometimes silence is your deadliest call. If you build rhythm, trust your setups, and control your emotions, you'll call smarter and put more bulls on the ground. If you want to sharpen your skills like this and take your elk hunting to the next level, I invite you to step into Team Backbone. Inside our membership, you'll get direct access to me, member-only strategies, a private community of hunters pushing each other forward, exclusive giveaways, and the kind of gear and guidance that keep you relentless in the elk woods. Team Backbone is where serious hunters refine their edge. Check it out at backboneunlimited.com underneath the membership tab. Thanks for being here. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.